Hello everybody and welcome back to another video here on my channel, another reading vlog, and in today's video we are going to be reading a bunch of thrillers, trying to tackle a couple books off my 26 and 26 list, and just having a fun reading vlog. I'm actually house sitting right now, and with that being said, I have nothing better to do than just sit and read besides a few things going on this weekend, but we have about a week left of house sitting, so I definitely want to sit here, tackle as much as I can because it's almost like a little vacation. This house is beautiful, it's very stormy. I mean, today it's been thunderstorms off and on and it's nice and cloudy, but like very humid outside. On Sunday it's supposed to get really cold, and then it's, I think, supposed to be nice the next week. So we have like almost the perfect weather because we have a combination of all different kinds of weather. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this reading vlog. First, I'm gonna say that I have been not necessarily reading, but like listening to a little bit. Actually finally finishing the last book in the Infernal Devices. This is Clockwork Princess. I am so glad to be done with this book. I'm not gonna lie, I'm so glad to be done with the series. It's not that I necessarily hated it, but I just didn't enjoy it as much, and I've been thinking about maybe looking up some YouTube videos or some other videos and going into that. But this is not necessarily what this video is about. However, I just finished this book, literally. So it's like on my mind and it's right here. I wanted to talk about that. However, the first book that I'm going to be picking up is off of my 26 and 26 list. And this one in particular is called The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. And I did read the guest list many years ago and it was okay. I just didn't like it as much as I felt like everybody else did. I think it was a little bit more divided, but for the most part, I was only seeing raving reviews about it. And also I think I read it like a few years ago. So then I think during that time I went thrifting, found this book before I even read that book, and then I never got into it because of the guest list. So this time I decided I wanted to do it this year. I wanted to tackle it this year, so I put it on my 26 and 26 list, and it's fairly short, I do believe, and it's a thriller. Yeah, it's like 350 pages. So in theory, besides tomorrow we're really busy and on Sunday we're really busy, so between today and then on Monday I should have this book finished, or at least that's my game plan. So this will be the first book. I'm super excited to kind of get into it and tackle it finally, and also because I have more exciting books for the most part after this book. So this is one of those that I'm kind of excited about it, but I'm more excited to get into it, hopefully love it, but then go into the next books, if that makes sense. I'm putting this book first before I get to, in a way, treat myself with two other books that I'm super excited about, like even more excited about. And real quick, before we hop totally in, I know I've kind of detoured a little bit, but also I want to show you guys a book that I picked up at the local library today for 25 cents. This is my first, besides Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys, having a sprayed edge book, because for the most part I don't have sprayed edges except for my Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys. I only have one side on them that is black for the most part. So this book I seen and I was contemplating to get it or not, but then for 25 cents I was like, just go ahead and pick it up. And I know I shouldn't be buying any more books. Yes, I know I have a problem. However, it is a Lucy Score book. I've been half and half on her books. I loved Rock Bottom Girl. I hated Forever Never. So this book, even though I have a whole series, or at least a start to the Knock 'Em Out series on my 26 and 26, I did pick this book up. This is how the sprayed edges look, and I'm not really a fan of sprayed edges, but seeing this for 25 cents, I was like, if I really don't think I want it, I could definitely get rid of it. Or if I don't end up liking it, I don't even have to finish it. I can actually DNF it and get rid of it. It's a funny concept, but I really try not to DNF books, and sometimes I have to power through. And even with full series sometimes. I just wanted to kind of talk about this because this is new. I just got it, and also for 25 cents, I felt like I couldn't really go wrong. With that all out of the way, let's go ahead and hop into The Paris Apartment. Meet the residents of number 12, a beautiful old apartment building in the city of light. The socialite, the nice guy, the alcoholic, the girl on the verge, the concierge. Everybody is a neighbor and everybody is a suspect, and everyone knows something that they're not telling. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like that prologue was a little underwhelming. For a thriller book, usually I feel like they have so much stuff happen in them that you really have to second guess or think through what might happen. But in this one, it's like fairly short. For the most part, this guy's just saying about how, I think he said his sister, I do believe, was coming in and he was waiting up or going to wait up for her. She just needed to come to this specific apartment, ring the doorbell. He would be waiting up for her, and then somebody actually has a key to his apartment, puts it in, they turn it, and he's like, what are you doing here? And that's pretty much it. Like, that was the most underwhelming prologue I think I've ever read in a thriller book. And I'm not trying to be mean, it's just kind of what my thought was, and I want to document more of my thoughts and kind of give them out, besides obviously spoiler things. But I was just a little underwhelming, which hopefully does not set the tone for the rest of the book. All right, real quick, I understand security measures for apartments. This one in particular is talking about the anti-climb spikes. Okay, that one makes sense. What are you talking about embedded shards of glass? Because is that a normal thing overseas in Europe? Because even here in the States, that's not a normal thing. Embedded shards of glass just kind of confused me, because even when we were stationed in Las Vegas, that's not a normal thing. So I felt the need to come on here real quick and ask that question, especially for an apartment complex or an apartment building. I hear a turkey. I hear a gobbler. Let's go see if we can find him and get a little video of him. I seen him earlier, but he was in this field and now he's in... There he is! I hope I got that. I hope I could pick that up. But yeah, now he's by the barn somewhere. I just have to find him. Darn it. I think I missed him. I didn't get a video earlier, but when I first did this intro, he was basically in this field right behind me. Missed him. That's okay. I hope you guys heard him in that clip. Hello, everybody. I'm coming on here a couple days later for my first technical update, my first 100 pages type update for the Paris apartment. And yes, it's been a couple days. I think I told you guys that the weekend was going to be pretty busy, and it is no longer the weekend. It is Monday. So we have more time to get through this book. I think technically I was on page like 80 this morning. I just went ahead, read to page 100, and then that way I can come update you guys on kind of my thoughts, how I feel like the book is going so far, and maybe a couple theories that I potentially have. Main thing that I want to talk about is because we have one short chapters, it's kind of interesting right now. I feel like I'm flying through the book if I can just sit and focus on the book, because I know during the weekend I just couldn't focus as much, and so I was rereading the same stuff multiple times because I would forget where I left off of, and then I had to go back to the very beginning of the page, or I just kept going back. So I was rereading a lot, but this, now that I've been kind of sitting for the last 20 or so pages, I feel like it's a lot easier to get into it or back into it and just continue along. We are still following the sister and trying to figure out what potentially happened with her brother, and also she's kind of going around and interviewing, or not interviewing, but she's getting to know or trying to talk to everybody or in this apartment building. And also that's the other thing, is I'm trying to remember, because I keep looking at the back of the book because it says things like the socialite, the drunk, or the alcoholic, and things like that. So I keep trying to pair who's who, like who she's talking to with who is on the back of the book, and I feel like that's helping me get it a little bit more straight, or at least in the beginning it was a lot easier to figure it out. I don't necessarily have too many theories. I have a few suspicions, or like things that I just don't trust. The person in particular that she's talking to right now, he's, I guess, a journalist or a press person, and he's outside of the apartments. I don't think I really trust him too much. There is some things that are playing out that I'm like, okay, this is kind of cliche with like a simple thriller book, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know, I just feel like some things might not follow the route. Like you also have where you have this person who just is so, I don't know her issue, but she's almost got like a lot of anxiety, and I almost feel like she could be the one, because why is she hiding something or whatever. But then there's the other side that I'm like, well, it's too obvious, so it wouldn't be that, it'd be the person you least suspect. So I have a couple different like ideas bouncing around in my head, nothing really solid though, so I'm just kind of reading on. It's not so far bad. I'm definitely invested into this, and I want to get probably 200 pages, give or take, into this book and finish at least around 200, if not a little bit more, before the night ends or before night comes around, because tomorrow I would love to finish this book. I don't want to spend too long on these books, because I feel like especially with shorter thrillers, it's best to kind of read them back to back or within a couple days, and then that way everything's kind of fresh in your mind, and it's almost like you go into it and you binge it. It's just one thing happening after another and after another, because I feel like if you kind of sit on the book or wait a couple days and don't really get around to reading it, when you hop back into it, it's just not as exciting, or you just don't feel the same feelings that maybe when you first started the book you might have felt. But that's really all I want to update. I have made it to page exactly 100, and I will be trying to get to page 200 before the night ends. So let's go ahead and get back into reading. I have a few different thoughts for what I think happened or what is going to be the conclusion of this, and especially because there's some things like the main character is talking about a curtain rod missing and rings looking like somebody ripped off the curtain. So I have a lot of theories trying to connect the dots just a little bit, but I also feel like I'm very wrong. Like I don't have enough information to kind of grab onto it and just solve this case halfway, not even halfway through the book, but I don't have enough, you know what I mean? But I still feel like I'm trying my best to try and figure out what happened. I'm actually really enjoying how sometimes when we're telling a story, we'll start with our main character, Jessica, as the story. If the person's still telling the story, we might switch a couple pages later because the chapters are very short and be into whoever's point of view is telling the story. And then if there's a pause in the story or a pause going on, or Jess wants to ask a question, we'll end the chapter and we'll switch back to her POV. And then it tells the story a little bit more, and then we might hop back into the person telling the story before finally going back to Jess's POV. I find that very interesting. I think that was done really well so far. So let me kind of show you. So we first start off in Jess's POV. We do have a little break and we go into this POV right here, but then immediately right after that, because we were talking with Jess, we go into this guy, Nick, who's Ben's best friend, or Ben's friend out here, or Ben's friend who helped him get this apartment. So then after this, it's like he tells a little bit of his story or whatever. And then we go into like this. So we go back to Jess and she's asking a question right here, but I don't want to necessarily spoil, but she's like, hang on. And we go here. I find that so cool. I have moved once again. Also, I've been outside, so ignore my hair. I had to put it up and it's really ugly. But we just got some information about Nick that I was kind of questioning because our main character is a little bit snooping around a specific apartment. And I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be good. I feel like this one particular person has a family secret and this just kind of fits together, and I was a little bit correct. I don't want to spoil it. And I don't really think I'm gonna do a spoiler vlog in this video. I think I'm just gonna keep it spoiler free for my sanity. But we just got such a good piece of information for Nick and I'm here for it. Like, I'm very invested in this moment, and so many things that he kind of talks about make sense. And also why he said about Ben getting an apartment, it totally makes sense because I had a little suspicion there, but I wasn't sure what in the beginning. Now I totally get it. It makes total sense.
That bad guy that I'm chasing with my R-wheel cops and automobile cops, he wrecked my cop card 3 times.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, did you try catching him? He's a bad guy. You're a cop. Go catch him.
I was trying to catch him, but he's on a scooter that's electric. You step on the front pedal of it, and it goes straight off. It's a race car one.
Oh my gosh.
There's a brake behind, like mine, but it's just different. There's a brake behind to help it stop. He
picked his pocket knife, picked the lock with the pocket knife?
Yeah, like he grabbed it with his mouth.
Why didn't you check him for knives?
I got stopped in order to check him for knives.
But you didn't check him. You didn't do your job correctly. You're supposed to give him a little pat down if there's anything that's going to hurt me, stick me, or poke me.
Oh, I got to do that at the jail, though. But he made me go straight and whacked me into the wall.
Bye.
Bye.
I love that. I had just recorded or just started recording and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just get a little clip of me like sitting here, just reading. And then he comes in, and so you guys get to hear a little bit of that story. Maybe not all of it, but children, the life of a child. He's so sweet and innocent and enjoys playing outside. Even if it's freezing cold today, even though it was like 80 degrees yesterday, it is like a high of 50, and tomorrow it's gonna be a high of 40, and then it's gonna go back up to 80 something degrees tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but the next day after. Say it with me, bipolar weather. Ooh. And now, instead of being a sleuth, she's just accidentally finding something. Oh. Irina? Who's Irina? Without being a spoiler, I wonder if Irina is actually the one person that she met accidentally and took off on a train. That's all I'm gonna say.
I caught him, but first I had used my taser. This is my taser. It just shocks for well. He's shocked in the jail.
Why'd you shock him?
I had shocked him, but...
Why'd you tase him?
I had to tase him because he didn't want to stop. He don't...
Tase. With a Z. Tase.
Yeah, tase.
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 I'm so sorry. Maybe we've watched a little bit too much Bugs and Jeff with him over the years. I mean, my husband and I have been watching Bugs and Jeff since, well, I've been watching Bugs and Jeff since 2018. My husband, I think, like 2017 or so. So it's been a while, but our son obviously isn't that old. A great imagination though. We love it. Ooh, I actually really enjoy sometimes flipping back to this character because we don't get much on her. She's kind of like the least, well, I guess for the POV, she's the second least that we get actually info in or that we get to read in. So her name is Mimi, and here recently I feel like it's been more, not necessarily exciting, but just more information. And I still have a lot of questions about her, and especially what we just learned in the last chapter. I feel like we're gonna get a lot more ideas, and it's gonna create more theories in my brain or help cross off some theories, if that makes sense too. So, and I think also, yeah, hers is always like 2.5 pages, and then we have something that we go into another person's POV that I'm actually really excited. This one's really short with Jess. In 2 chapters from now, it's just 2 pages, but I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be picking up, and right now, currently, I'm on page 172, 173, so I'm over halfway, or just about halfway right now as we sit, or on the halfway point. I'm excited. I've read a lot, I feel like, today, which is perfect. Almost 100 pages. Hello guys, it's the next day. Please ignore my hair. I've never actually brushed it today, so it's been drying and it was wet when I actually left the house and we've been gone. I have to update about this book though, because I just kind of threw on the audiobook when I went home and I did some things, and then we came back here. And so many things have been happening in this book, particularly in this last like day that I've been reading, or I'd say more like the last couple hours I've been reading and listening to the audiobook. And I just feel like this book is actually really good. There's some things that I don't like in it, like some content type stuff that I don't like reading about it, and also it's just kind of like dirty. But then there's some other things that I'm like, oh my goodness, I love how she is connecting, or Lucy Foley that is, she's connecting every single character that you read about and a backstory. Even if it's a character of a character of a character, that character somehow is related to somebody of like the main character or somebody in this apartment or something. Like everybody's connected, and I find it so interesting. And I just kind of want to tell you where I'm at as of this moment. I don't remember what we left off yesterday, but I think I was around 180 give or take, or 190. So I've read about 100 pages. I listened to a bunch at the house, so that went by. But I'm gonna be trying to finish this today, and I'm on officially another POV with Mimi, and it is 292, 293. So we have just about 60 pages left of this book, maybe give or take almost 70. I'm actually really enjoying it. I haven't felt this way about a book in a while. Like I felt like I've really liked books, but I just have been kind of searching for a 5-star feeling in a way, and I'm not there. I'm not saying that, but I just feel like this is one of the closest that I've been in a while, because I'm kind of unsuspecting to a lot of things. Especially with most thrillers, I can kind of predict and spoil a bunch of things for myself, and for some reason this one, I'm not really spoiling a lot of things. Like some things are kind of blindsiding me. There is some things that I am still guessing, but for the most part, because there's just so much stuff happening, I don't actually guess it until probably about a paragraph or 2 before they say it, which I feel like is so much better than me doing it multiple chapters before, or just like coming up with a random idea and it ends up being correct. So I'm actually really enjoying this book so much, and I definitely hope to finish it today. But I had to update you because we just got a massive like reveal where I was like, oh my goodness, she's connected to this character, and then all of a sudden it was like, hold on, wait a minute, this all makes sense. Every single character is connected somehow, every single character, and I find it so amazing in a way. Like I'm so interested in this story, which is great. This chapter right here was so good. I don't want you guys focusing on it. It was so good. So much information given. So many things, like puzzle pieces connected. Guys, I have about 40 pages exactly left of this book, and I think I know the overall ending of this book. I think I just guessed it, and right now I feel like the pacing or what just happened, it's picking up. I'm exactly on page 314, actually 315, and there's 356 pages. So I'm fairly close to the end, because the next POV, again, is Jess's, and I'm so excited because this POV, when I finish reading it, it's gonna end so crazily, and I'm so here for this. This book is actually pretty good, at least in my opinion. I've been having fun with it. All right, I moved upstairs just so I can actually finish the book. And also I changed my clothes. I'm gonna be taking a shower, or I decided to take a shower after I finish this because I just want to finish it so bad. I do have, without spoiling something though, so there is one prediction that I have. I think that the location that was originally talked about once or twice and basically off limits, I think that specific location is also going to be a harboring point for a specific character, maybe multiple characters, but more so one specific character, and maybe that person is not actually, as we thought, surviving, let's just say. I just want to throw that out there because I still have like 20 pages left, and we moved inside, and now because we were watching Cletus, I was getting distracted, so I moved upstairs so I can actually finish this book. So I'm not gonna come and talk to you guys or get distracted at all until I finish this book, and then I'll come talk to you guys later. I finished it. I will update. Stop. I finally finished it. I will update y'all tomorrow. I want to go take a shower. It is the next day and I want to finally give my thoughts and my rating on the Paris apartment. Last night, like I said, I just wanted to take a shower and I wanted to hop into bed, talk to my husband, and just go to sleep. It was getting kind of late. I was so excited to finish this book, and right off the bat, I'm just gonna tell you, I did rate it 4.5 stars. It had a little bit of like, not a 5-star feeling, but I had a little bit of a feeling where I was super excited to read it. I feel like definitely being here and just dedicating a lot of my time to reading this book, or just a lot of hours in the day to reading, really helped me in terms of being very invested into this book. Because I feel like thrillers, for sure, if you're gonna kind of read them, pick them up, and then not read them for a couple days and then pick back up the book, I feel like you're not as invested if you were to just try and sit down in like one sitting or multiple sittings within very close proximity to each other. I feel like you just enjoy the books, the stories better, and that's how I was feeling with this book. And I really liked, I can't say some things about it because I don't want to do spoilers, but like I'm gonna say the families dynamic. There's multiple families in this book that we talk about, and I like that. I'm just gonna leave it at that. If you read the book, then you understand exactly what I mean. I love the apartment and kind of like the labyrinth in there. I mean, it's not really, it used to be a house and then you have the servants' quarters and some other things go on now. It's like an apartment complex, and I love that whole situation right there. We mainly have the plot of the brother is missing and his sister is trying to figure out what happened, because she ends up showing up one night and he says, just ring the bell, I'm basically gonna let you in. And then he never answers his phone, and it's like the next day and she's still looking for him and cannot find him. That's our main plot. We also, I feel like, have a subplot, and it's revolving around family dynamics in a way. So there's a little bit of like a scheme that kind of goes on and kind of more information within a specific family. And I thought this whole book was so interesting. I really actually enjoyed it. It was so much better than I feel like I felt during the guest list. So I'm super happy about that. So of course, finishing the Paris apartment, we are now going into our second thriller in this video, and I'm super excited to get into this book. I love this author so much. She's Christian. She writes a lot of thrillers or mysteries, and she also has subplot of romance in them as well. You probably already know who I'm going to say, but this is Alaska Twilight by Colleen Cobble, and this book in particular is also probably the final book in this video that we're going to talk about that's also on my 26 and 26, and I'm super excited about this. It's super exciting because I know going into this that I'm probably going to love it because I've loved every single book I've read by her, and I think I've read about 6 or so now. She is Christian, so I'm going to get a little bit more of that God value in there, or values about God. It's another book off my 26 and 26 list, so I feel like it's going to be super exciting. This book is fairly short. I think the last book was like 356 in total. This is exactly 309 pages long, which is super good. I hope, because tomorrow will be our final day. I don't know if we're going home tomorrow or spending the night and going home on Friday. Technically, by the end of tomorrow, I would love to be really close to 300, 200, I'd say at the minimum. I would love to be at least 100 pages into this book by the end of today, at a minimum. So I'm gonna sit here, get into this book, and start reading it. For some people, Alaska is a breathtaking wilderness adventure full of light and beauty. For Haley, though, it's a dangerous world of dark dreams and tortured memories. On the surface, she's here to document wildlife activist Kip Nowak's bear encounters, but her real reason is to unearth the truth about a past murder. From behind the viewfinder of her camera, Haley observes it all, including Tank Lassiter, the bear biologist who has been forced to lead Kip and his team into the Alaskan backcountry. As she watches him with his work, she feels a growing attraction distraction. It will take great courage to confront the truth she once ran away from. Will she have the faith to move beyond the role of observer and embrace life and love? All right, everybody, I want to do a little update so far on Alaska Twilight. I have just made it to chapter 4, and that is actually page 47. I will be stopping here, and my husband should be honestly pulling down the drive any minute. After he gets here, we're going to, of course, eat, and then I have some stuff I need to do, so I'm going to throw in the audiobook. I have it on Libby, and I'm going to pick up where I've kind of left off and listen to that just a little bit and see if I can get farther into the book and get more invested, because this is probably one of the only books from her, or I guess this is the second book from her, that for whatever reason I'm almost 50 pages into it and I'm not that connected to the characters or kind of invested into the story. Like, there's some things that I'm definitely invested in. I really like the plot, or like the murder mystery side of it, and with this cabin that burnt down, this family that was basically murdered, I want to figure out that. And then there's also something happening that I don't want to spoil, but it's something in the future or the present timeline right now, and it involves potentially the future, and it's with a certain character and his daughter, and I find that really fascinating or really interesting too. But for whatever reason, I'm not as connected to these characters as I feel like I've been with almost every other single book of hers that I've read. And the only other book that I felt the same way about was the second book. I do believe it was called Seagrass Pier in the Hope Beach trilogy, and those characters, I think it took about like 60-70% of the book for all of a sudden me to think, oh, I'm actually connected to these characters. And that was my lowest rated book from her, or at least that I've read so far. It was just a 3 stars, which honestly is not bad. I'm not saying that, but it's just not very common that when I pick up her books, I feel like a disconnect in a way, and I almost feel like I have that with this book. And I'm also wondering if maybe I just need to be a little bit farther into it, because there's some things that have been going on that I'm trying to just kind of get organized, kind of like file it away in my thoughts inside my head and get a structure. And I think I'm getting some things a little bit mixed up or confused, or I have a lot more questions and we're not there yet, or there to the specific point where maybe later on we're gonna get more questions answered. And maybe that's just me. I'm just thinking too much right now about it. But yeah, I'm just hoping that maybe in the next 50 pages basically, because usually I give myself 50 to 100 pages to get into a book, definitely before DNFing, but for the most part that kind of gives me like, oh, if I'm gonna like it or not. I think with the audiobook maybe it'll help because of what I'll be doing. I could get to at least that 100-page mark is what I'm thinking, but I can also sit there and just focus on the audiobook, because I'll be kind of doing it's almost similar to listening to an audiobook and maybe crocheting or doing a puzzle as some other people do, but I will be actually detailing a vehicle. So for me it's very nice because I don't have to think about what I'm doing with my hands, so I can actually listen with my brain, and I'm not multitasking to the point where I'm going to tune out the audiobook. And I would still love to be 100, if not closer to that 150 mark, but I'm also not trying to rush into it because I already feel in a way this small disconnect, which I'm a little bit saddened by. But you can still have favorite authors and really great books and just not always vibe with every single book. So I do still have a lot of hope for this book. I'm not losing hope for it. I'm just also ready to get farther into it, so maybe I can have some questions answered and I'll be more invested and definitely more connected to the characters, because I think the reason why I'm not connected to the characters as much right now is because I know that 2 specific characters are going to have a subplot of romance. They are the subplot of romance. They're gonna have a relationship. I've been trying to figure out their ages and then also how like their stories tie in, and I think I'm just thinking too much of that and not just reading, which is totally probably my fault, but sometimes it's just how I am because my mind is always moving 1,000 miles an hour, which is sometimes a downfall. I just wanted to give a little update and say how far I have gotten into this book, and definitely I will come update you later because I don't think I'm gonna update around that 100-page mark. It might be a little bit after that, but that's okay too. Hello everybody, it is the next day and I read a lot, or I listened to a lot in Alaska Twilight. Yeah, no longer are we there. We're over halfway through this book. We are on page 180, 181, and I think I'm definitely more invested than I was. I'm not saying I'm 100% there, but I really like the whole situation of being out in Alaska. I like the bears. I like some of the like subplot, I'm gonna say, with one bear in specific that was kind of raised from a cub and then released, I think in like year 2 or 3 of his life. And I really love some of the quotes that have been talked about with God and some of the things revolving around each character's kind of hardship that they have. I really have been enjoying that, and I've come around to the characters a lot more, but I just don't know if I feel them really connected just yet. I feel like there's like a little tension, or like not tension like in a bad way, but like they're going to have a romance together. They're gonna fall in love. So I feel like I can kind of feel that, but right now because of one specific character from the mail or somebody he's related to, he gets a little bit defensive, and it's not so much defensive, it's more of like he's protecting this one person in his life, and I can kind of see that. And so for the most part, it's like when they are together, he's like, I don't really want her around her. I don't really want Haley around this person. I know that's gonna change, and I know all the characters, how Colleen writes her books. I really like how she kind of takes each character and they kind of revolve. If they have a problem, for the most part, they solve their problems, and also they change their life or change their whole perspective on life. And that being said, the main character, Haley, she's not necessarily Christian, but she's had some tragic things happen to her over the years, and she's kind of like, well, if God loves us so much, why is he letting this happen? Why did he let this happen to my sister? Why this? Why that? I love that because sometimes with her books, I really enjoy how you have not necessarily like an atheist, but you have somebody who doesn't necessarily believe in God anymore, who once was Christian, but then by the end of the book, she's gonna full circle. She's gonna come back to God, and I just love it. Even if it's fictional, I just love stories like that. So I am invested. I have been enjoying it a lot more. I'm now officially over halfway, and I'm super excited about that. But I think today we will be actually going home, so I need to pack and do some other things, but I might be sitting and reading this a little bit more. Sorry about the washer. I have been cleaning the house because we just came home. We've been gone for pretty much about a week and a half, so it's nice to kind of just clean the house, listen to the audiobook. And now with Alaska Twilight, I'm actually almost done with this book in a way. I think we have 307 pages in total, and I'm on page 232. So I just started chapter 21, and what just happened in chapter 20, I was not expecting it. Like, there's been some times where I feel like certain bad things happen to characters in a lot of Colleen Cobble's books. Because I feel like this isn't necessarily going along with the murder side of it, it's something just with like Alaska, the terrain, the bears. I was not expecting a potential of a death, and in this book we've had multiple. I feel like technically though, we get a description of one of them, and I just was not prepared for that. Like, I wasn't expecting that because I've never read anything like this from one of her books, which I kind of like it because I'm used to reading some other style thrillers that are more not necessarily descriptive in like a really bad way, like not like Stephen King way, but a little bit toned down from Stephen King, but you still have a lot of stuff in there. And so this book I feel like is her most descriptive, but also not bad at the same time, but like most scary because it's more wildlife, like I said, with Alaska terrain. So you have those grizzly bears and some things that are happening currently in this book, and I just, like I said, I was not expecting it, and I really like this actually so far. Here in the last couple chapters, I feel like I really have a connection between the main character and the male romance. I'm not saying that I still think this book is going to be as high as some of her other books, but it's definitely going to be at least a 3 stars at the very minimum. I know that for sure. I have a lot of cleaning to do. I've been making supper, so I've just been sitting in here listening to the audiobook, and I will probably honestly finish up this book with the audiobook, or at least listen to a bunch more, a good portion of the rest of this book. Are we getting a kidnapping too in this? We don't just have murder, chance of death with bears, potential of losing a kid, now we have kidnapping? This book has actually got a lot of things going on with it. Wait a minute. What if this isn't like a double kidnapping or just a double kidnapping? What if this is actually also a potential to try and take them away so that they're more in like safe hands, and in reality something happens with their vehicle, they break down, then they're in the wilderness, and then there's something with bears too. Hear me out. I feel like I'm not spoiling this because I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but I'm so invested right now. Colleen really wrote this book with so many bad events happening. Like, so many things are happening right now in this book that I can't even call the next thing that happens. For the most part, I kind of seen some things, but like some things I was like, oh my goodness, where are we getting at? I did finish Alaska Twilight, and I think I'm gonna rate it just 3.5 stars. I've been kind of thinking about the rating, and I don't feel like it's really a 3 or a 4 stars, so I think I'm just gonna settle in the middle at 3.5 stars. It seems more like a good rating in my opinion, because I don't think it's as good as some of her other books that I have rated 4 stars, and in the beginning I just wasn't as connected. However, by the end of it, I felt like I was kind of connected a lot more, or I was connected to the characters, and I was rooting for the characters and some other things that were happening, and I was also very invested into just the chaos chaoticness, I guess you could say, of the last section of this book. So I feel like 3 stars is just a little too low, if that makes sense. This book in particular just didn't necessarily go the route that I thought it would take, but at the same time, I thought it was so good because we had a couple different murders technically in this book. We had that mystery and that thriller, I guess, technically-ness of it. And then you also have where you have the aspect of the bears, some other things going on, like a kidnapping and just some crazy, I think, things that just kept occurring, or events that kept occurring. And then also you have like the subplot of romance and the talks about God, talks about faith, and you have a character who's not necessarily really religious anymore because of something that happened to her when she was younger, and then she basically blames God and she's angry at God and she just thinks that he abandoned her, you know, all those types of things. But by the end of it, I knew she was going to come around, and I felt like this one was a little bit more towards the end, but I also understand it a lot more. And it was kind of nice because she was overcoming something that happened in her past. And I did actually like this book. I would recommend it, but it's not like my first book I would recommend from Colleen Cobble. I would probably put it as like, if you want just a standalone, maybe. I think this one might be really good for a lot more people because of the situation, or like the whole aspect of being in Alaska. With that being said, now that we finished our second book, Alaska Twilight, let's hop into our third book because I only have laundry left pretty much. This book I'm super excited about. I picked this book up at my local library for only $1. I threw this book in with a bunch of other books. It was like fill a bag for a whole $1, and I think I bought like 5 books that day. I've always wanted to read a book by this author, and I think the first book that I really seen from this author, The House Across the Lake, was really popular. And if you don't know who that is, it is by Riley Sager. Like I said, I've always wanted to find one of his books at a thrift store. Never came across his books, or I have, I guess technically after I found this book, I seen one mass market paperback and I just did not want that one. I wanted one of at least a full-size paperback, if not a hardback. And this is actually, I don't know if it's an older cover or if it's a revamped cover, but I really love this cover more than the other cover that I see that's more popular. But this is called Survive the Night by Riley Sager. I love how this cover looks because apparently this is November 1991, and this is giving me more like 80s, late 80s or early 90s vibes when it comes to like movies. So I feel like this is more true to that time period for the cover than, I think I'll have to put up the other photo that I see. But there's another cover that I see every once in a while and it's got like neon letters, or give or take, and I just don't think I really like that one as much as this one. So I'm super happy I got this one, or I found this one. So it was maybe like 20 cents because I got 5 or so books in that fill a bag for $1, which was great. And also this book is about 322 pages long. So it's, again, short, and hopefully I really like his writing. I've never read anything from this author, so this will be a first, and hopefully I really like it, and maybe I will end up picking up more books from him. It's November 1991. Nirvana's in the tape deck, George H.W. Bush is in the White House, and the movie-obsessed college student Charlie Jordan is in a car with a man who might be a serial killer. Josh Baxter, the man behind the wheel, is a virtual stranger to Charlie. They met at the campus ride board, each looking to share a long drive home to Ohio. Both have good reasons for wanting to get away. For Charlie, it's guilt and grief over the shocking murder of her best friend, who became the 3rd victim of the man known as a campus killer. For Josh, it's to help care for a sick father, or so he says. As they travel an empty, twisty highway in the dead of the night, an increasingly anxious Charlie begins to think that she's sharing a car with the campus killer. Is Josh truly dangerous, or is Charlie's jittery mistrust merely a figment of her movie-fueled imagination? One thing is certain, Charlie has nowhere to run and no way to call for help. Charlie knows that the only way to win is to survive the night. I want to give my first almost 50-page type update. I think I was mainly trying to get around 100 and then I would update, but I'm just going to update you guys now. I'm actually on page 46. I only read to page 46 of this, and I really like how in the beginning I said something about that this cover looks like a 80s, late 80s, early 90s cover, movie cover. And with me saying that, I did not know that our main character was going to be obsessed with movies, which is kind of ironic but also very annoying. Like, I'm kind of annoyed, especially the first couple paragraphs. I felt like it was just over the top. She was comparing everything to movies, and I was like, okay, we get it. Like, you really like movies. You've seen a lot of movies, but like, shut up at the same time. That's how I kind of felt. And then also there's something when she's describing what she has, because she's sitting here talking to this guy and she's like, yeah, I basically can see things that other people don't see, and I can reenact or play out movies that aren't real, that haven't been made, and I can create a whole scene. So sometimes there's times where I'm talking but everybody's like, what are you talking about? Because nobody else is following what she's saying. And I was like, I don't really think that's an actual disease of the mind. I think that's just schizophrenia. Let's be honest, she has schizophrenia, and now I feel like because of some things that I've been reading about, I feel like I might know how this book might go. Also, I don't know what little orange pills are, but if they keep the visions of movies and things like that at bay, wouldn't that be along the lines of schizophrenia? I don't know much about that, but at the same time, it's giving schizophrenia vibes. In the beginning, I thought I was going to really love how it's divided by hour. I thought this was going to be super fun and cool, but because it's also revolving around like a movie, it's also like a skit. So it says 9 p.m. This was the very beginning of the book. Then it says interior dorm room. This is the day. And then the next chapter says interior dorm room at night. Exiting or exits the dorm room or exterior dorm room at night. It's almost like the chapters, there's not chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Within the hours, within the parts, it's more of like a skit or like you're reading from a script, I guess you could say, which I like how it's following the movie thing, but for me as a reader and also somebody who just doesn't really care about movies like that, I don't like that. Like, it's bugging me when I'm reading it because especially with me hopping onto the audiobook, it's really hard to find. If the header is the same, since it's not like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, I have to then go within a 2-hour basically long chapter on my audiobook and find exactly where I'm at. I think that's like the most critiquing I have. I'm a little bit into the book so far. I don't really have an opinion really based for each character. I have my suspicions on both of them, but like I said, I think there's also other things at play and I just want to get more into it. I will be mowing our yard today, so I'm gonna throw on the audiobook and listen to this, maybe also listen to music, but definitely listen to this, find where I'm at first, and I just kind of want to update before I get really far into this book because I'm sure we're gonna be here, and by the time after mowing, we could potentially be on the other side of this entire book because we have almost 5 acres and a lot of it is mowable grass. So I just want to kind of update how I've been thinking. I just kind of want to update kind of my thoughts, but let you guys know what I will be doing today. We just switched from her POV to the one other POV, and I'm so here for it. I just took a break. I came in to eat a sandwich, and I'm almost done with the front yard. But I've been actually loving this audiobook and liking this book a lot more. I am very still annoyed with the movie situation, but I also understand, I think, how this book, especially with this POV that we're getting, how this book is officially going to end. Look at our front yard, though. Looks so good, except for all over there, and then right there, just like that. Guys, it's been a few hours since I've last seen you. The sun is starting to set. It's actually 7:30 and I have been mowing for about 6 hours. That's how many acres we have and how long it takes me. And not to mention, I did mow, then I kind of swept some of the grass from the front yard, and then I had to weed whack, and then there were some other things. I had to move the trailer and the vehicles and, you know, shuffle things around. But yes, it took me like 6 hours. 6 hours of listening to this as an audiobook because I thought I was just gonna listen to music and maybe turn on this as an audiobook. No, I just got really invested into this book. And I did finish it. I just finished it. And I'm gonna say that I think this is a 4-star book for me. For me personally, I know when I looked at the reviews, I think the first 10 that I seen in a row were either 1 or 2-star reviews. I did not see any 3 or higher stars, and then I wanted to read them so bad. Now I'm gonna go sit down and actually read them. But I wanted to read them, but I didn't want to like ruin this book for me. And I think also because I've never read another Riley Sager. This is my first Riley Sager book. So I don't really have like a forefront or already a baseline for how he writes or how he did write. So this book, there were some things that really bugged me, or some things that I definitely predicted and recalled, especially who was the campus killer. Without spoiling, there's one person in particular, and I was like, I don't know if I really think that that person is the campus killer. And then we get another character introduced, and that one kind of blindsided me, and I was like, okay, well, maybe it's the two of them, but then I was like, I don't think this is really the thing, the case, so to speak. So then that character, we find out what exactly the reasoning is behind like that specific character. I'm not even trying to say if it's a girl or a boy. I'm trying to keep this very like spoiler free right here. And then my thought process is there's only like one other character in the book, and that's where I went with that. And so it really turned out like a little bit predictable. I really got tired of hearing about movies and things like that, but I also kind of understand now. Once you get to the very end, I really like how the end is like almost like the epilogue. It's just this little section right here that says fade out. So how we started the book with like a little prologue that said like fade in, I really love, without spoiling, because I think going into this book not knowing about that end section and then reading the end section would be so much better than actually having it spoiled. I like how Riley Sager did that. Like in the beginning, I really didn't understand what the prologue was for or like why it was like this, and then how we had more of a script format. Now I totally understand, and this makes so much sense, and I actually like this book for that reasoning, even though it was one of those things that I was annoyed about at the same time. It's one of those that if you don't finish the book, I don't think you'll understand type deal. So I'm super happy that I did get to read this, and yeah, I will be rating it 4 stars. I'm so sorry if you guys did not enjoy this book, but for me, I never read Taylor Adams' No Exit. That was another thing, is that some people were comparing it to that, and I've always wanted to read that book. And then also, like I said, I never read a Riley Sager book, so I had no idea what to think about his writing or what this book was going to be about, and I really like how it was. I would recommend it, but I guess if you're more like me, go in blind, completely blind, maybe if you don't have too much knowledge of Riley Sager, and also if you've never read No Exit by Taylor Adams, because apparently that was like a lot of the reviews. Somebody said something like it was almost plagiarism. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just one review I did happen to see and kind of read a little bit of. But I think that is going to be the final book for this vlog. We have, if I remember correctly, read 3 whole books in this reading vlog. We read The Paris Apartments, Alaska Twilight, and now finally Survive the Nights. And I feel like we had actually decent books. I had good star ratings. I still have not found a 5-star book, but that's okay. I have a couple books up on the top of my bookshelf that I do want to get to, so I'm just gonna cut this, keep it kind of short and sweet, hopefully, but more so keep it at 3 books. And I'm so happy I did get to do a video. Even if I listened to a lot of these books, I'm gonna say 2 of these books a lot on audiobook, but it was just because I was doing a lot of different things outside or just in general that took a couple hours. And all of these books were, I think like the longest was 350 pages. Everything else was 320 or just over 300 pages. So they're very short too. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you're curious about any other video I have, any other reading video potentially that I have here on my channel, go ahead and click onto my profile and maybe subscribe, join my YouTube community. I do have a bunch of different playlists revolving around cars, photography, books. Those are the 3 major things that I do here on my channel. I hope to see you in another video here on my channel, and as always, God bless.